So got the information included, and now we're ready to start writing. So I'm just going to show this in the web. So this is the first chapter. So this is the basic shell that's included for every book that starts on its own on Pressbooks. So within the first chapter, I'm going to click on here, and you'll see here that Pressbooks, it's got a nice clean, it looks like a word processing software that most of you be familiar with, where you can set the paragraph, you can set the headings. So if I wanted to remove this first chapter, this is, again, this is a part of the standard shell, and I want to create a new heading. And so this is heading 1. I would suggest, as you're an author, and if you want to change this, just do just that. I would suggest, as you're using headings, that as you're going through, just to use the headings sequentially. That's important for accessibility. So with screen readers, just based on the different headings, and you can make changes to the fonts, and I'll show you a little bit more about changing the appearance of your book. But as you go through, you can make changes to these heading areas, but as long as they're set to the actual headings here, you won't run into as many problems around accessibility. So just remember just to use these headings in a sequential manner. So worst case scenario is that you've got a heading 1 below a heading 2, and you'll run into some problems with your accessibility. I'm going to show you a little bit about text boxes. So another one of the things that you can do here is we have a number of different text boxes that are available. So you might want to start off your chapter with learning objectives. So I'm just going to click on learning objectives, and the learning objectives box is inserted. And you can type your learning objectives here, my first, second. And you can just make those edits to the learning boxes themselves. You might have here, maybe we talked about linking to an article. This might be some place that you want to link to another site, or if I go back to our YouTube channel and I want to include information about, pause that. And I'm going to include the video on, and so once I include that, you can see that chapter is included within the learning objectives. Okay, so go further down here. As you're creating content, like I said, when I was making this book, I'm based in Canada. And so I'm going to start editing. And at this point, I might need to provide some evidence for this. And so I'm going to want to insert a footnote. And so I can insert a footnote at any point here. Click on this. You'll see that it comes up. Now, I don't believe you can see this. It's a outside text box, but you can, it asked me to include my footnote content. So I'll just click there. And when I hit enter, you can see here that these footnote tabs are included around this, and so that's properly footnoted now. So this is my personal experience. So if you want to have a quick look at what that looks like, you can click on the view chapter. Oh, before I do that, one thing I will recommend, There is no auto save feature. We do auto save a little bit, but your best bet is to always click the save before you navigate away from a chapter. So I know that I've become dependent upon Google Docs, and I really like the autosave feature, but it bites me when I go back to Word now and I forget and I close off a document and I lose all the changes that I've made. But to take a quick look at the chapter and pull it up, you can see here that video is available, and now that footnote as well. So let's just go back to the admin. Go back into the organize the chapter, and in this chapter I'm going to go down, and I might also now decide that I want to add another interactive feature for students. So I'm just going to click on winter here, and I'm going to insert a glossary term. So when I do that, you can see that the term winter, because I've highlighted it, shows up here. And I'll just quickly insert that. And so again, these short codes are wrapped around the term winter. And so these are our glossary items, and you can keep adding items to the glossary. And you can now, the next time when I'm writing a little later and I want to insert another glossary term, I can select to choose an existing term. So if I've added a number of terms to the glossary term, I can select that and it'll show up again here and insert it. And again, when I go back to view my chapter, so I'm just going to click save. And when I view that chapter online, and I go down, now this is an interactive feature for this reader. And when they click on this, it'll show the definition of the term that you've inserted there. Now, back again to my chapter. I might want to add a new chapter, and maybe the next chapter is still within the main body of the text. So we'll call it chapter 2, and let's say math. So Pressbooks does use whether there's different ways to include LaTeX notation within Pressbooks. It can be as simple as adding LaTeX through WP LaTeX, but also I can just code it here, and I'll include short code. I have trouble with my spelling. So right here, I'm just going to go and we'll say a squared plus b squared equals . Okay, and so now this will, when I create this chapter, this will render that LaTeX notation. And so just click save and view that chapter. So now that mathematical notation is rendered through a tool called MathJax. When I did it this way, within the LaTeX short codes there. So now when I click on this as a reader, if I right click, I can show these different accessibility settings. So I might want to set a zoom trigger. So if I click on it, now this LaTeX expression will zoom. I believe I've got this set now, I think, to 200, but I can change that zoom factor. Yeah, 200. Maybe I want it up to 400. So that increases the size there. Just another way to, again, LaTeX is one of those areas when you use it through MathJax, you're able to turn that into a more accessible experience for your online readers. Okay, now let's go back and I'll just add something to that chapter now. It's not math related, but now I want to add maybe say an image or a picture. So right now, what you can do is you can see here on the left-hand side, we've got the media library, and I might want to add new from the media library. So there's a couple of different areas that you can do that, but upload new media here. So I'm going to select a file to upload to the media library. Let me just pick a picture that I had earlier. And now when I go back to my book, okay. And let me just go down. And I'm going to add media here. I'm going to select from my library. Okay, so here's an image, and this is the image I loaded here. You can enter some alternative text. So you might have a description. The title, I can change that. This was from Unsplash, so I might want to give an attribution or a caption here and a further description. And yeah, sorry, here's the attribution. So if I want to give an attribution, whether that's back to the original photographer, the author, their whatever license that this one was with an Unsplash license, but if it has a Creative Commons license, you can set that attribution here and include all that information and upload that file. Okay. So in the media library, you can include images, you can include videos. You can include small videos, I should say. So there is some size limitations to the media library. Uploads can't be larger than 25 megabytes. And that's generally sufficient for most images. And as you saw, one of the things that you can do is so if you have a longer video, you might want to consider having that included, put it on a YouTube site, something that's intended for video. And again, when you go back into that chapter, you can include a link to the video. It will show up. This is basically inherited from WordPress. So WordPress does have automatic embeds for YouTube videos. I'll share this link here. This is an article from WordPress. And this will show you different sites that already have a list of sites that are authorized through WordPress. So like I said, Twitter, Tumblr, Vimeo, they're all allowed on WordPress sites. So you should be able to embed links from YouTube, Vimeo. And if there are some, you might be using Kaltura or some other locations for housing your videos. Those can be included as embeds as well. You just will need to add that. And so again, talk to your network managers about authorizing that Kaltura or whatever source, whatever repository you're storing your videos on. But they'll be able to white label those embed links so that you can include them in your finished work. Okay, and then here, the last thing I wanted to scroll down to is you can change the metadata on a particular chapter. So if you want to include some more information around the chapter title, subtitle, if you have a separate author for a chapter, you can include that information here. And you can signify a separate chapter copyright license. So maybe someone, contributor, wanted to include it with a different license. You can set a different license. Maybe it's a little bit more restrictive license, Creative Commons license, but this overrides the book license for this page, for this chapter. Similarly, chapter level digital object identifier, you can include that information here.